Welcome to Waters World. I'm Jesse Waters, and this is a Fox News alert. Robert Mueller has submitted his report on the Russia investigation to Attorney General William Barr. Fox News is reporting that Barr will deliver a letter to Congress as early as tomorrow, and that letter will summarize Mueller's key findings. Here's what else we know. Mueller is not going to indict anybody else, and Mueller was not obstructed in any way during his investigation. So at the end of nearly 2 years of investigating, no one has been charged with anything relating to Russian collusion, and they won't be. ABC News is reporting that President Trump is in, quote, great mood, and told friends at Mar-a-Lago that he was, quote, glad it's over. He even hit the links with Kid Rock at Trump International earlier today. And the left couldn't have been more wrong.
I think more indictments are coming, and I think they'll be broad-based, and there'll be a general conspiracy indictment.
There are indictments in this president's future. They're coming.
We believe we may well have a criminal in the White House, and the next step is going to be the Trump family itself.
There was activities with the Trump campaign in Russia and releasing those hacks and guiding them to the states and the localities where they came from. Some of that was Jared Kushner's responsibilities. Some of it was Donald Jr. I think you're going to probably see indictments of both of those people.
And recall, the media is saying that the Mueller report was supposed to end the quote-unquote Trump treasonous presidency. Watch.
This is nothing short of treasonous.
Vladimir Putin and his associates, somebody has something on Donald Trump.
There's outright treason. I mean, there is no question that what he is doing is giving aid and comfort to the enemy.
President Trump could be indicted and possibly face jail time.
I think this is a potentially more dangerous situation than Watergate.
I think it's that serious. I think it's that grave. I don't think anybody really gauges how imperiled this presidency is. The end is probably in sight.
The end's not in sight for Donald Trump, but the end may be in sight for those who set the whole thing up. Joining me now with reaction, House Judiciary Committee member Congressman Matt Gaetz, Fox News contributors Dan Bongino and Sara Carter, and former deputy assistant to President Trump and the host of America First on Salem Radio, Dr. Sebastian Gorka. This is probably the best panel ever assembled outside of a Hannity show. So I'm just happy to be a part of it. And I'll begin with you, Dan, because I know you've been chomping at the bit all day, and I can just see it in your eyes. Here's how I feel, because I'm a feelings guy. I want to talk to you guys about how I feel about this. On the one hand, I feel like this delivers a knockout blow to the press and the Democrats who've been saying collusion, collusion, collusion for the last 2 years. And when you couple that with a hot economy and the decimation of the ISIS caliphate, this is a two-term presidency, so the Democrats are going to have to start working with this president and not working against him. But on the other hand, I'm pretty angry because the people that set this up, what's going to happen to them? What is going to happen to the people that set this whole thing in motion? Are they going to be accountable or not, Dan?
Jesse, that's really a terrific question because it sets up exactly where I was going to go. I think what's getting lost in this scrum here after the Mueller report and the report that there's going to be no additional indictments, you know, a lot of people who knew there was no collusion are obviously celebrating because the truth came out. But, Jesse, think about the damage here. The real case, the FBI's case, was entirely based in this dossier. The dossier is the collusion scandal. That's everything. So if Mueller could not indict and vindicate even one small component of that dossier, all of the players who spied on Donald Trump used human intelligence assets, weaponized the intelligence agency, have now nothing to fall back on it. And one more quick point on this. Here's the key question here. Jesse, when exactly did Mueller find out there was no collusion? Because his whole initial memo and his reason for existence was to investigate collusion. And that begs the question, what is that second scope memo that he got? What does that say? Because I think Mueller knew early on this thing was a big, stinking pile of dog, you get it. It was a hoax.
Right. Well, we know that Peter Strzok knew that there was no there. We have the text messages that say that, Congressman. So to Dan's point, Hillary paid for the dossier filled with Russian lies. It gets laundered through the Justice Department and the FBI and through the State Department. They buy this warrant to spy unconstitutionally on several campaign officials. They throw spies to infiltrate the campaign. And then at the end of the day, once he takes over and during the transition, everybody starts leaking and unmasking everybody. There's a lot of potential felonies that happened and abuse of power from the Obama administration. Are they going to get away with it? Because it looks like potentially they might.
They were getting away with it under Jeff Sessions and Rod Rosenstein. The hope is with Bill Barr as the Attorney General, there's a new sheriff in town. We had 24 members of Congress who called on a special counsel to investigate the collusion that went on with the Clinton campaign, where you had hundreds of thousands of dollars paid to the Clinton Foundation to influence policy. Also, as I think Dan correctly pointed out, the real collusion here were Democrats hiring a foreign spy who was a known liar to the FBI to work with Russians to tell lies about the president to destabilize what has now become one of the most successful presidencies in the entire modern era. And so, 675 days the Mueller investigation took, longer than the United States' involvement in World War I and the Whiskey Rebellion combined. Out of those, we freed Europe and got cheaper whiskey. Out of the Mueller investigation, we didn't get a single indictment on collusion with Russia. That was the underlying issue. I don't think that the president's supporters should uncork the champagne quite yet. I think there will be negative things about the president in the report, but I mean, this was a biased group of people that only looked at President Trump and didn't look at the true collusion that Dan pointed out, and that I know Dr. Gorka and I have talked about on Salem Radio.
That's right. So the Democrats, Sarah, had a meeting today. It was a big conference call, and I would just love to have listened to that conference call.
Too.
God, I would love that tape. But the point was, according to Fox News sources, that they were trying to call the dogs off. And it was a therapy session and saying, listen, I know Mueller did not, produce the collusion that you were looking for, but guys, you can still go ham on this presidency with the subpoenas and the hearings in the Southern District. So, everything's going to be fine. We're still going to get this guy. Where do you see the Democrats pivoting to now?
Well, they've already made it perfectly clear. They want to pivot to President Trump's family, to his businesses. They're definitely exploiting everything they can with the Southern District of New York and those cases that are there now in the Southern District of New York. But let's talk about this. They're focused on both the election, whether there was election fraud, the family, the foundation, while we have on the other end probably one of the biggest, most egregious breaches with our intelligence community, just as Dan said and Congressman Gaetz said, with the FISA, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act warrant, malfeasance within the FBI, and also within the DOJ. And we have to realize right now there is also an Inspector General who's working on this, Inspector General Michael Horowitz, whose report hasn't come out yet and will come out probably within the next month. And that should tell us a lot more about what happened during the Hillary Clinton investigation, but more importantly, what happened during the Russia investigation, Jesse. And I think that what we're going to see is William Barr. We're going to see a lot of these criminal referrals move forward. We're going to see indictments, but not of President Trump, not of President Trump's family, but of people within the FBI and people within the DOJ and people within the intelligence community that abuse the law and abuse the Constitution of the United States. So the Democrats can keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and they will, but they're only going to exhaust the American public's patience. People are exhausted of this. They don't want to see another 2 years of this, and I tell you, it's going to backfire on the Democrats big time.
Yeah, there does have to be some sort of accountability for the people that were involved in this from the very beginning. Dr. Sebastian Gorka, my theory on this whole thing is that they tried to set Trump up during the election. Trump caught them, fired Comey. They triggered the special counsel. The special counsel was just trying to cover up the abuse of power and the sting operation from the get-go. So to me, the Mueller report looks more like a whitewash of all the federal abuses that were going on and less of a search for the truth. Because like Dan pointed out at the top, we knew early on there was no collusion.
Jesse, you nailed it. Remember what we saw in those texts, those messages from inside the FBI and the DOJ. We need an insurance policy if Donald Trump wins. This is the insurance policy.
Yep.
Remember what happened. We had 2 years, $25 million of our taxpayer money, your taxpayer money wasted, to prove what? That Paul Manafort lied on his mortgage application. This is a travesty. The fact is, the only reason we had the Mueller probe was because Hillary Clinton lost, and they had to have a cover-up for everything they did to spy on another presidential campaign. This is the biggest political scandal in American history. And all I can tell you is when the president told me, May 2017 in the Oval Office, Sebastian, they'll never find anything because there is nothing. We've spent 2 years on a witch hunt, and the president was vindicated. People have to pay a penalty for what they did with our money and how they used the law enforcement powers of this country as a political weapon, Jesse.
That's a great point, because if Hillary were elected, none of this stuff would have ever come out. None of the abuses. You mentioned the word witch hunt, and that word was polled, the phrase, by USA Today, Suffolk University. Look at this. Look at this poll. Has President Trump been subjected to a witch hunt? A majority of this country believe yes. 50% of Americans believe yes. Is President subjected to a witch hunt? You know, about 47% say no. And this is after 2 years of the president hammering witch hunt, hoax, no collusion, fake news. And he's been castigated, Dan, for the phrase fake news. If this report comes out, and tomorrow we expect it to, and it says there was no criminal collusion involving Donald Trump's campaign and the Russians, what does the word fake news mean? That word now has been completely vindicated, and the media, who's been selling this hoax, as the president calls it, what do they do with it? I mean, their credibility is shot beyond belief.
Well, I'll tell you what it means. It means that Donald Trump may be the first higher-up government official to take on the entire swamp, weaponized intelligence community, and the Democrat media complex, Jesse, and win.
Yeah.
For all the people who say, oh, he should stop tweeting, fine. I don't care about his tweets. You're entitled to your opinion. But there's no question his 52 million followers got the message that this was a witch hunt, because it was. And, Jesse, one more thing on this. I mean, listen, people are getting tired of the Democrats changing the goalposts. First it was treason, then he was a traitor, then it was collusion, then it was obstruction. They've come up empty-handed on every single one of these. Obstruction is dead in the water. McCabe has already testified on the Hill under oath. There was no effort to obstruct the investigation. And Comey's own memos say that Trump asked him to look at his, quote, satellites if they were doing anything wrong. Obstruction is dead in the water. It's nonsense.
All right, well, you bring up something else that they've been wrong about. Remember how they talked about how Trump was interfering with the investigation and was firing Mueller at any moment? Let's listen to some of that sound, and then Congressman Gaetz can react.
President Trump ordered the firing of special counsel Robert Mueller last June.
Why he moved to fire Robert Mueller. That the president sought to have Mueller dismissed.
Effort to fire Mueller. His attempt to fire Mueller.
Trying to stop Robert Mueller from doing his job.
All right, so the report already said that Mueller was not obstructed in any way whatsoever by the White House or the Department of Justice, Congressman. I mean, these people, how wrong can you be?
It shows, Jesse, that the witch hunt continues. They were wrong about the president's intentions, the president's actions. They were wrong about Russia. I mean, the entire Russia narrative is like the Democrats' own version of the Fire Festival. It's all hype and buildup, but no substance. And I suspect that this will go on. The Democrats have launched an 81-pronged investigation into every element of the president's life because they need something to talk about. And in the absence of evidence, they have to continue to stoke their base with the theory that they're going to be able to undo an election that Donald Trump won in historic fashion. And I think that voters who want to see better health care, better roads, better trade deals, who want to see wars ended and an American economy rebuilt are actually going to appreciate this president for maintaining focus on the lives of the American people, while Democrats have been so impacted by Trump derangement syndrome that they haven't been able to focus on anything else.
Congressman, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was on the 5 yesterday, right when this was breaking, and I said, Regular Americans, they care about their NCAA picks, their brackets. They care about spring vacation, what's on Netflix. And then I got hammered over at MSNBC saying, how dare Waters, put down the American people. These people live in a bubble. The exit polls from 2018, Russia wasn't even on the list. No one even cares about Russia collusion outside of the swamp and partisans like, you and I. But, people on the street don't talk about the dossier and Russia and the Kremlin. They don't talk about that. And the media has built this up so much that people on MSNBC were actually crying reporting the news last night. Watch this.
Certainly say with confidence that there is significant evidence of collusion between the campaign and Russia.
He was colluding with the leader of a hostile power.
So much involvement, so many connections with the Kremlin.
It's so obvious that they were eager to collude with Russia. Now we're seeing the evidence that there was a conspiracy to cover up.
Well, that was the wrong video, but that was the Russia collusion allegation that we heard for many years. This was Rachel Maddow crying last night. Here it is.
As far as this letter goes, from the Attorney General, Bill Barr, tonight, Barr says he never exercised that power. He's notifying Congress formally there was never anything the special counsel sought to do that Bill Barr stopped Mueller from doing. And that's fascinating.
And she was tearing up. And I think Sara, the person that tweeted that out, actually got banned from Twitter because you can't even do that anymore. I don't know what to say.
I don't know what to say either, Jesse. I mean, this is so insane. I feel like I'm living in upside down land. I feel like, and I think I've said this to you before, if President Trump ate borscht at a restaurant in New York City, they would want to indict him for it. It's just insane. I remember election night. I remember being there at the hotel. I was, at the Trump victory party, waiting for the results like everyone else. And as they started to pour in, I looked over and I just saw reporters with their mouths hanging open, tears coming out of their eyes, not because they were happy, but because they were astonished. They thought, they literally believed that Hillary Clinton was going to win.
No, this whole thing has been a reality check for the left.
That's
Dr.
right.
Gorka, you have 30 seconds left. Any last words for the people watching tonight?
I wish it were a reality check. These people live in an alternate universe. It's the Twilight Zone. It's Alice in Wonderland. But we can laugh about this stuff, Rachel Maddow and everything else, but this is a very serious issue. Yep. We have people who call the president a traitor who are on Congress. They need to be punished in 2020 at the polling stations.
They definitely need to wise up. All right, guys, thank you very much.